Okay, let's see if how this is working. Are you guys hearing me okay? All right. Already I'm confused about the microphone input. Let's see. Okay. I wonder if we have anybody watching. I don't see any comments, so I'm thinking no. Thinking there's nobody watching, but that's okay. It is public. Oh, I've got a thumbs up and I do have someone watching, but I can't see who that is. Well, who's ever watching, thanks for watching. Um, Let me see if I can see who's watching. And thanks for bearing with me here because I don't know what the heck I'm doing right now. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. If anybody is watching and you can type a comment, I would love to be able to see if I can see it. So you really be helping me out if that's possible. All right. Let's see if I can find this. Okay, so now I'm watching my live stream. Yeah, okay. We'll come back to that. Two people watching. That's good. Maybe I'm the other person. I think I'm the other person that's watching now. So I don't know. Let's see. Okay, let's see if I can comment on my own. Okay, well, definitely seems like a better connection and a stronger, faster connection. I kind of like it better. Interesting that my room looks darker somehow. I guess it's maybe the camera. Participants, let's see. Okay, well, would love to see if anyone else is watching and they could type some sort of a comment so I can see it. If you could do that. Let me know you're hearing me okay, and I have no idea what it sounds like. Okay. Mike Magley, Rob Burgess. Hi, guys. Okay. You guys hearing me okay? Hearing you fine. Okay, cool. Neil Porter just texted me and said, I'm watching, but I don't know if you can. Neil, what did you say? I'm watching, but no, I can't see you and I can't see your comment. I think, Neil, if you haven't subscribed to it, I don't know that you can comment, but that's just a guess. I don't know. Cool. Okay, well, thanks you folks for watching. Mike and Rob, sounds fine, looks good. Love these sessions. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you very much. Well, and I implied this or inferred this the other day that I'm thinking of maybe streaming from, I have to use Zoom if I'm going to have someone with me. If I do it alone, I can just, you can go live on Facebook or any of these platforms without using Zoom. But I think it's better. Thanks, Neil. Neil says I look good. You do too, Neil. I can't see you, but I know you look good. Neil is the singer, guitarist in Grand Theft Audio, my band, our band. And I think we might have got some good news today here in Massachusetts about venues possibly opening up pretty soon. But clear with good audio. Yeah, it seems like it's better in that regard on this with the audio and the video. Carl Palmer in the future. Well, maybe. I know his nephew, Ian, very well. He's a good friend of mine. I've met Carl a few times. I can't say I know him, but I've met him, and really super nice guy. And Danny Seraphin. I should get Danny back. You've given me a good idea, Mike. Gotta revisit my pal Danny Seraphin. Can never talk too much about Danny. Anyway, I was saying that I'm looking at possibly streaming here to YouTube instead of on Facebook. Although, I have a bigger footprint on Facebook than I do here, obviously, with less than 400 subscribers on YouTube. Andy Newmark, I was thinking about Andy this morning. I was playing along to some music, Anticipation by Carly Simon, and I thought about Andy, and we talked about it, and then I just need to follow up with him because I know Andy won't follow up with me. So yeah, more Danny talking about using calf heads back in the day. Yeah, cool. Okay, good idea. Thanks, Rob. It's criminal, but I only have myself to blame for how criminal my subscriber account is, because I haven't done anything to try to grow it since, only in the last month or so have I really tried to even make an effort. So nobody to blame but myself. Same with like Instagram. I have like less than 3,000 Instagram followers, which maybe I don't know, that seems like nothing to me, but I'm never on it. And I don't care for it, honestly, that much. But anyway, I do like YouTube, so I'm gonna push that. I'm gonna try to get my count up. So anything you can do to help me out, I would appreciate it, Rob. Thanks, man. All right, well, anything you guys want to talk about for a minute while we keep testing the sound here? So it sounds good. You guys are hearing everything. Do a session about your background as well. Well, I feel like that's been said and done a lot. I've done interviews with other people, or people have interviewed me for their shows, and I've talked about that, and I appreciate that you're interested in knowing that, but it seems to me that information's out there, and maybe people are sick of hearing about it. But anyway, let's see. +1 now. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Well, maybe I'll come back and do this in a more formal way on YouTube by myself, and I'll do a little background. I just feel like that's a little cheesy, but I'd be happy to answer some questions if you want, or while we're here. Tim Pence, I recognize your name from Facebook too. All right. Yeah, I was playing them today for almost 2 hours, man. They sound so good. I've got a couple of overhead mics. I've got a couple of Shure KS32s, KSM32s on each of the toms. The bass drum, I have a Shure Beta 52 inside the bass drum, mounted on the Kelly shoe system. So the snare drum is not close mic'd, but these two condenser overhead mics pick up the snare drum, the hi-hat, all the cymbals really well. So they sound really, really good. I use some of those Vic Firth isolation headphones, and through a mixer, a Zoom L112 or L12, totally left-handed. Yeah, full lefty. I started off playing on a right-handed drum set, open-handed. So I played, my right foot on the bass drum, and played my left hand on the hi-hat, like the way Billy Cobham and Simon Phillips and Carter Beauford play, guys like that. And who else? There's a bunch of guys that play that way. Will Kennedy, Ben Porowski. If you know who Ben Porowski is, he's a badass drummer, plays that way. But anyway, I was self-taught, and a friend of mine who was studying with, I think, Fred Buda at the time. I was in junior high school. My friend Fred Klein saw me playing, and he said, well, you need to switch your drums around and put your hi-hat on the other side, play the bass drum with your left foot, and basically just, play a mirrored setup so that I'm playing more traditionally, but left-handed. So I did 6 months into my playing, and that's the way I learned. And I kind of wish I'd stayed on a right-handed kit so that I could play a right-handed kit. Excuse me. But it is what it is, almost 50 years later. That's the way I play. What am I going to do? Anyway. Yeah, let's see. What's your go-to snare drum? A Rogers Power Tone. I'm going to guess. It does work for Ian Pace. Does it ever? Talk about a monster drummer. A lot of great left-handed drummers out there. Ian Pace, the great Ian Wallace, late great Ian Wallace, very good friend of mine, a lefty drummer. Joe Porcaro, also left-handed, great drummer. Legendary. Anyway, I was just saying, though, I run all those mics through a Zoom mixer, digital mixer, and so I can play my music through it, my iPhone, and mix the two levels of the drums and the music, and it's not rocket science. I'm sure all you guys do the same thing. I'm slow to all these new innovative concepts out there. So come on, Mike, you got me on the edge of my seat on what your go-to snare drum is. Have to admit, Ludwig Superphonic or even Acrolite, yours. I have both of those kinds of drums and think they're great. I also have a Ludwig Jazz Fest, early 60s Jazz Fest, right here. I could show it to you if you want to see it. My go-to right at the moment is a early 60s Rogers chrome over brass power tone that I just got about a month ago. And it's on the kit right now. It's a great, great, great sounding drum. I love this drum. This is the matching power tone, Black Diamond Pearl. It didn't come with that kit, but I bought it separately at the same time I bought that kit. This wood power tone. And this maybe is my favorite sounding, playing, feeling drum. It's I was just so late to the game on Rogers, man. I just totally missed the boat as a kid at how great they were and still are. This is a great drum. I have a pretty rare drum here. I'll show you. And many people mistake it for something else. This is a Heyman snare that I got with my Heyman kit. The rest of the kit is at one of my bandmates' house, Paul Gianelli, where we rehearse sometimes, not often. So that kit is there, but this drum is here because I use this drum with other kits. And this is probably late 60s, early 70s. Heyman was a company from England, you might remember. kind of short-lived, maybe about 5 years they were in business. Like the real Heyman company, I think they came back later as a import. But you see the lugs are round, like DW and Bill Bruford, of course. Yeah, a lot of guys. Simon Kirk played Heyman for a while. Ainsley Dunbar, Mitch Mitchell played some Heyman drums at one point. Anyway, this drum is an amazing sounding and playing drum. Has the slotted heads, slotted tension rods rather. So I've got to use this fancy key. You don't want to be at a gig and not have one of these keys with you. You're in big trouble if you want to tune your drum. Okay. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't show you this drum. This is a Gretsch, a round badge, obviously, from the late 60s. I think they started making these around 68, 69 for just a few years. It's a 24 karat gold plated, engraved Gretsch brass shell snare drum. The most beautiful drum in the world, it was called in their catalog. I got a hold of this about 2 years ago. This was a dream of mine for years to own one of these drums, and they're so rare and they're so hard to get. And I managed to get a hold of one, and I won't tell you what I paid for it because that's criminal. You want to know what criminal is? I mean, I'm not saying the guy charged me that I bought it from is a criminal, but it wasn't cheap, but I'm glad I got it because I'd be kicking myself if I didn't. So yeah, Heyman through Bruford. And sorry, there was a mention of Rogers. Rogers a great sounding, tuned high or low. Exactly. That's what I like about them is you can tune them kind of anywhere. Some drums like to be tuned one way or the other. All right. Yeah. Wow. Well, that was fun. Yeah, the Gretsch drum is a 8 lug because the chrome over brass snare drums in those days were all 8 lugs. So it was basically, if you're referring to the Gretsch snare, it was basically a chrome over brass snare drum that was gold plated at that time. They didn't make them as 10 lugs yet. I think I do have 2 of the chrome over brass Gretsch snare drums in 10 lug. One's right here next to me. One's out on a drum set out in my other room. I actually have a third one that's at my son's house. How heavy is it? The Gretsch drum, it's the same weight as your typical Gretsch chrome over brass. So it's heavy. It's a heavy drum. Between the die cast hoops and the shell itself, it makes for a heavy feeling drum. But the gold, I don't think the gold adds any extra weight to it. Just adds a little extra price to it. Yeah. But it's not a light drum. I have a bunch of Gretsch snare drums and none of them are lightweight. Even the wood shells I have 1, 2, 3 Gretsch wood shell snares, 4 actually, which all weigh the same and they're not necessarily light compared to like a Premier snare drum, which is pretty light. Or even the Ludwigs, the Superphonics are light drums. And the acrylites, because those, the rims, the hoops are much lighter. But interestingly, that Heyman snare drum is a 10 lug, which you would have thought maybe it might be an 8 lug, because they were sort of designed to be a little less expensive when Heyman came onto the market. They were trying to compete for a more affordable angle than some of the more high-end drums at that time. So yeah, Michael, it's my lucky day that you're watching. I appreciate that. Yeah, Steve has a lot of great stuff. I did, you know, I don't know if you know this, you probably do. I did interview Steve back in last summer, maybe, or last fall. It's in the YouTube gallery. And I don't know that we talked much about gear. We might have, but he and I talk a lot about gear. We text each other pictures of when I've gotten some of these new drum sets, I'll send him a picture and he'll go, wow, you know, kind of geek out together about that stuff. You'd be surprised how many of these guys are like that. Vinny Colaiuta, when I sent a picture of these Rogers drums, he told me a story, which I didn't know, that Rogers was his first like professional drum that he owned as a kid. And then he, you know, sold it or traded it to get something else. But he had a Rogers like 20-inch bass drum, 13, 16 kit I guess as a teenager. Um, let's see. 1983. I don't know what the reference is to 1983. My reference is my Tama Bell brass. Oh, okay. That you bought in 1983. Yeah, those are heavy drums. Yes, yes, yes. I wonder, I think these drums are maybe a little bit lighter. I've picked up one of those Bell brass snare drums, and I think the only thing heavier than that I can think of is maybe some of the Sonar snare drums. The original Zildjian Noble and Cooley drum that was made just before I started there in 1989. I think it might have come out that year or maybe 1988. The 6.5 by 14, you know, Zildjian Noble and Cooley snare drum was a really, really heavy drum because of the size, because of the alloy, because of the hoops, everything. So yeah, that was a heavy drum. But yeah, you might have everybody beat with that Tama Bell brass snare drum, which is a beautiful drum. I'm sure you'll agree. Nice drum. Hey, so it looks like 11 people are watching. Pretty cool. I'm looking at how it looks if I were watching it. Not bad. Okay. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to keep you guys too long. How many people recognize this shirt that I'm wearing, like what it's from? Who can tell me the reference that Bob's Garage comes from? Fixing cars since 1943. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for watching. I have a bunch of cool old snare drums here, actually, right at my fingertips. Maybe I'll do another show in the future. Nighthawk Audio, you win. Yes, it is. It's a reference to Schitt's Creek, Bob's Garage. I love that character, Bob. And I actually looked for whatever I could find that was like a Bob's Garage reference. And this was the only thing there might have been baseball hats maybe, but I was looking for a t-shirt or something. I just thought the whole show was great. Loved it. But I thought Bob was hilarious. The way he'd sort of like run into the scene when he'd kind of show up and kind of, you know, come in. And anyway, if you haven't seen the show, this is the most, you know, non sequitur, disjointed conversation you'll hear. So I won't talk about it. But if you know Schitt's Creek, you know who Bob from Bob's Garage is, and he's a very funny character. So I'll leave it at that. Good job, Nighthawk. Good job. All right. So what else can I do here? Okay. Looking at all the things I can do. I'm learning more things as I go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Brad Needles. Hello, Brad. Well, I'm so glad you guys found me here. I was thinking this was going to be a lonely little chat. Wow, Hal Blaine was your great uncle. How cool is that? Oh man, Hal was hero and one of my most absolute favorite humans. And I'm being sincere if because Hal. So that's no stretch to say that he was just such an amazing guy. I mean, put aside his unbelievable body of work that will never be touched by anybody. I don't care, who's the most recorded drummer. Hal has a body of work that's just untouchable. Like, the number of Grammys and the number of number one and top 40 hits and I mean, and needless to say, that period, that type of longevity in the music business is never going to be repeated because the business is so different now. But man, talk about an incredible drummer and an incredible body of work. Hal was the man. I don't know if you saw my post the other day on Facebook. I had been listening to some like old pop tunes while I was out running the other morning, and one of the songs was "Windy" by The Association, and which is Hal, your great uncle Hal, and he was amazing. Met a few times. Last time, you were at the Baked Potato. Okay, oh, that's great, man. Yeah, that was amazing. That party was so great, and I'm sure you know the story that it almost didn't happen because Hal was kind of saying, I think right up until a few days before, that he really didn't want to do it. And so I was kind of on standby. And then when I got the word that Hal himself emailed me and said, yes, I'm going to do we're going to have the party. You're on the guest list. I hope you can come, but I'll understand if you can't. And so I flew out the day of the party, and so glad I did. And then, our friend Charlie Watts happened to be in town. The Stones were recording. So it was very, serendipitous that Charlie was able to come to the party. I know he was very excited to be there and to celebrate Hal's 90th, as we all were. It was great. So thank you. Thanks for the kind words too, for, following me. Yeah. Hal was just such a down to earth, humble guy, just an incredible guy. Miss him like crazy. I miss getting those email jokes that he would send, sometimes a little irreverent. He was, bless his heart, he was old school, and he he would say whatever he wanted to say. Not worried about the PC police, and everybody. It was Hal. So what are you going to do? And I kept probably 95 or 98% of the emails that he sent me in a Hal Blaine folder, that I will go back and refer to sometimes. It's pretty cool. So, hey, Scott Hessler. Yeah, man, good to see you. This is turning out to be pretty cool. Everybody, Scott is an old friend and used to work for Oralex, and I've got my Oralex mat right there on my Rogers kit, and took great care of me there. I appreciate that. And I'm glad you could join us, Scott. This is cool. I didn't expect to see so many folks. This is, new territory. So I don't know that I'll do like if you guys don't know, I'm doing a live chat this Saturday at 2 p.m. No, I'm wrong. 1 p.m. Eastern time with Simon Phillips. And I'm going to do that on Facebook because, there's more eyes on Facebook right now than I have here. So, but of course I'll post it on my YouTube channel when I'm done. So check that out on this coming Saturday, the 27th. And I hope I'm right about that. I want to say it's 1 p.m., 10 o'clock on the West Coast. Simon, I think he has an appointment that he has to be at or something. So we're going to do it a little earlier than usual. But Brad, I understand. I appreciate you staying on this long. to be honest with you, because you know, really not talking about anything right now. But thanks for jumping on and being part of this little test session. More than anything, this is really helpful just to see, make sure that you guys can see and hear me, and that it actually, when I, put the word out, that people could find it. I wasn't even sure how you guys would find me. Um, my buddy Neil Porter, I think, found me, but I don't know that he's able to post. So I don't know why that is, but or maybe he jumped off. But anyway. But if you guys, shoot me some ideas for people you'd like me to talk to, within reason. I don't know that I could get the Pope on my show. Love Simon, one of the nicest drummers. Absolutely. Yes. Thanks, God. It is 1:00. Okay. Earlier than normal, but that's based on Simon's sketch back in LA on the West Coast. That's great to hear, Brad. That's great. I got that sense too. I tried a little test just by myself the other day, where I just did a private video, and it seemed to be really, really good quality. Like, it didn't get hung up, it didn't freeze, it didn't do some of the things it does when I'm streaming from Zoom over to Facebook. Can I get Vinny? I hesitate to ask Vinny, but I think I probably could get Vinny. And I only hesitate to ask Vinny because, I don't know, I just feel like he gets hit on to do these things all the time. He did the Jeff Beccaro one that I did with Robin Flans, where we talked about Jeff's book. Vinny was great to jump in on that one with Steve Gadd and Rick Murata, because Vinny and Jeff were so close. I wanted him to, to share some stories and just be there, and he was great about that. But I almost feel like, I know Vinny has done other ones where people have paid a subscription price, and Vinny's been compensated. So I almost feel like if I were to do it, I should pay him something, because I don't want him to feel like, because he's my friend, he has to do it for free. So I don't know. It gets into this whole other world, Chris Whitten. Chris, yeah, I see Chris on another forum from time to time. An old friend from 30 years ago. I met him when he had the McCartney gig around 1990, 89, maybe 1990. And I'll bet I could get him. I have his email, and he's a great guy. Great idea. Some of the guys I have coming up are, let me just run some names by you guys, see what you think. Somebody mentioned Andy Newmark. Andy's definitely someone that's going to be a future guy. I'm going to do a part 2 with Robin Flans on the Jeff Beccaro book. Chris Layton, Stevie Ray Double Trouble drummer, plays with Kenny Wayne Shepherd and a million people now. I was thinking, I haven't talked to Gavin Harrison, but I was thinking Gavin Harrison, Keith Carlock. I was thinking of Sean Pelton. Peter Erskine part 2 is coming up March 20th. If you want to write that down, that's a definite. I guess that's a few weeks from this Saturday. A few other names too that I have thrown in here, like Russ Kunkel, Jim Keltner, another Stan Lynch part 2. So I was thinking Cindy Blackman would be fun to have. Anton I have on my list. Did I not say Anton? Anton too. Yeah. I'll tell you guys, I've mentioned this a while ago, but back on my 60th birthday in December, my sister-in-law, my wife, and my daughter-in-law, and my son, Pete Thomas would be a great one too. I should write him down. Love Pete Thomas. Good one. Thank you, Kick Snare Hat 2. Is that you, Pete? Is that your pseudonym? And you're suggesting yourself? Pete Thomas is a very humble man. I know that's not really Pete requesting himself. He'd be mortified. He'll be mortified if I ask him to do this. Anyway, on my 60th birthday, a couple months ago, in December, as I said, my sister-in-law, my wife, my daughter-in-law, and my son threw this surprise Zoom call, and we thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be with my grandkids and my kids, my son and his wife, our two grandkids, and my daughter who lives up in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon. So we had this designated time of like 7 o'clock, and I should also say my sister-in-law was going to be part of it, and my mother-in-law. So anyway, sign on, and it's my wife wants me to turn on the printer. I turn it on and I see my grandkids and some other people, and all of a sudden I see like a friend of mine from work from Zildjian, an old coworker from Zildjian, Bob DiLorenzo. And then I see all these faces: Kenny Aronoff, Greg Bissonette, Anton Fig, Vinny Colaiuta, Steve Gadd, Rick Murata, Harry McCarthy. Did I say Keith Carlock? Steve Smith, Simon Phillips. They're all in the Zoom call. I'm trying to think of who else. I'm probably leaving maybe Peter Erskine. I'm probably leaving people out that I'm going to hate myself for leaving out. But it was the most amazing thing. I can't even explain it. I was completely surprised, completely floored and blown away. And yeah. Oh, Don Lombardi, my old boss from DW, his son, Chris Lombardi. Who else? My sister, some other friends of ours that live in Maine, some friends from Chicago, my younger brother and his wife. Yeah, so it was a reason I'm getting to all this is Anton was there, and I hadn't seen Anton or spoken with him. And he just sat there kind of laughing the whole time. It was pretty funny. Dennis was supposed to be on the call, but was having problems with his phone or his internet that day, and apologized to me the next day that he couldn't be there. But he was supposed to be there, as was Andy Newmark, and he didn't make it either. But that's okay. It was pretty crazy, pretty overwhelming. Rudy Sanchez, thank you so much, Rudy. Man, you are the best. Rudy Sanchez is an incredible drummer from Mexico City, who I met about 15 years ago or more, close to 20 years ago, on a trip to Mexico, on a clinic tour. And Rudy came out. I think I was traveling at that time with Marco Miniman, and Rudy did double duties as another drummer on the bill, who's a fine drummer, but also the translator, because he speaks perfect English, better English than I do. And what I didn't realize at the time until, I was introduced to Rudy, and our distributor, Hermes Music in Mexico, told me that Rudy is a celebrity in Mexico. He's a very famous drummer on a TV show that they had, almost like a David Letterman type show that they had, that they used to, might still be on the air, but Rudy was the house drummer. And there's Suzanne Morissette. Oh, Suzanne, so good to see you. Thanks for watching. Another fine drummer, Suzanne Morissette. So anyway, the funny part of this story about Rudy is, so Rudy gets up and plays, and he's incredible as a drummer, and he finishes, and the crowd starts chanting, Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. And it turns out that's on the TV show. That's what the audience does. So the next day we're flying from Mexico City to, I forget where. We were at an airport together, going, myself and Marco Miniman and Rudy and someone from Hermes. And we're at the airport, and someone recognizes Rudy and starts chanting, Rudy, Rudy. And Rudy's like the most humble guy. He's just kind of like smiling. Hi, how you doing? It was hilarious. And I'm like, man, you're a star. You are a rock star. So anyway, Julio Barreto. Oh, I haven't seen Julio in a long time. He'd be great too. Fabulous drummer. Suzanne, I hope you're doing well. How's the weather out there in Southern California? I'll bet it's beautiful. Anyway, Rudy, if you're still watching, I always remember that story, that first time we met, and then we've met obviously many times, seen each other many times since then. You reminded me you were on that Zildjian Day, Mexico, a few years later, I think in 2007, with Mike Mangini and Dennis Chambers, and that was a fun day. And Rudy's a wonderful human being and a wonderful drummer. Yeah. All right. So some good suggestions here for future guests. You're welcome, amigo. Oh, Suzanne, you're killing me. Gorgeous day, 71 degrees. Wow. Well, it's not that here, but it's not bad considering it's the end of February in the Northeast and it's about 45 degrees. Not bad. Yesterday it was in the 50s. We visited our grandkids, spent the afternoon there with light jackets. So, outside the whole time doesn't get any better than that. When you can squeeze in a couple of 50-degree days in February, in the Boston area, I can't complain about that. So, all right. Well, cool. Been going about 45 minutes. Now, what's cool about this is I believe when we finish, unlike the Facebook chats, this will go straight to my YouTube channel and all of your comments will be there, which is pretty cool. So if you want to say something really embarrassing, by all means, have at it. And conversely, I don't know if you can delete your own comments, but if there's anything you don't want to have on there, but I'm kidding because there's nothing that you want to delete here. Everything, you've all been very well behaved. How about John Ferraro? He would be great too. He would be great. John would be have some great stories. He's an old friend. Okay, I'm going to write John's name down too. And I've also thought about when I move away from the mic, can you still hear me okay like this if I do this? Thought about doing like a round table type thing where I get a bunch of these guys and gals in a round table setting and try to have some semblance of an organized little chat. Yes, it will be there in perpetuity. I believe it will live on my really embarrassing. It will live on my YouTube channel unless you pay me large sums of money to remove it. And we could talk about that offline. No, kidding. Yeah, I'll do another one of these in the future, and I'll do a little rundown on my snare drums and maybe some of my other drum sets, which drummer folks might be interested in. But got some gold and platinum records that I've been meaning to hang in the wall when we finally figure out what we're going to do for paint in this room. But some cool stuff. More Gretsch monster hi-hats. I've got about 8 or 10 in the other room here, but there's 3 there and then 2 in these kits. Look at that Peisty gone. Look at that. Smitty Smith, yes. Smitty would be great to have as well. An old friend of mine from when he was at Berkeley. Smitty Smith. Oh, the other guy I'm going to have on here too is Charlie Drayton. Any Charlie Drayton fans? Steve Jordan. Well, if I get Charlie, I don't need to have Steve Jordan. No, actually, that would be cool to have. It would be cool to have Steve and Charlie on the same show because they're kind of buddies, and Charlie's kind of a protege of Steve's. Do I know Stevie Stanislao? I don't think I know him, Suzanne, and I apologize that I butchered his name trying to pronounce it. Gary Novak, I do know. In fact, he owes me money from a long time ago. And he'll probably say he doesn't remember. They all say that. No, Gary doesn't owe me any money. I love that guy. I love him. I love Gary. Oh, D. 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 Stanislao. I don't know. I can't say that I know him, Suzanne. Stevie. I like his name. Sounds like a nice Italian boy. It's good. Charlie Drayton fan. Yeah. Charlie and I talked about this a while ago. And again, I stopped doing these, as you know, or you may not know, for a while, kind of over the holidays, took probably a month or more off from doing these and regrouped on whether I was going to continue to do them. And then during that time, I mentioned to Charlie, I'd love to do something with you. So yeah, got to get Charlie Drayton, and I got to move on that. For a lot of these guys, I think it's a question and gals of just saying, let's do it on such and such a date. I need to make the move, and I need to just do it. So anyway, cool. All right. Yeah, I don't know who that guy is, Suzanne, but you guys have given me some great suggestions. Anything else anybody wants to ask or talk about before we kind of wrap it up for right now? See if I can show you any other cool things while I'm here. Rodney Holmes. Sure, Rodney. I know Rodney. Old friend. Any Mandalorian fans out there? Love that series. This is not Baby Yoda, although that's what people call him. His name is actually Grogu. Grogu or Grogu? See you soon, Suzanne. Thank you for jumping on for a minute while you're driving. Drive safe. Don't be distracted by my nonsense. And yeah, see you soon. Back at you. It's good to see you. And I enjoy your videos too when I see them up on Facebook. Oh, that's a great question, Rudy. All right. Well, just when you guys thought I was going to let you go, Rudy asked a question that's pulled me back in. Wow. Okay. You're from Bulgaria. I didn't realize that. Fantastic. When did my love for vintage drums start? It started probably 15 years ago. I was still working for Zildjian when I bought my vintage Gretsch drum set, which is, I'll see if I can show it to you. It's my Midnight Blue Pearl set. You can't really see it. It's down the end there. You see it at the end of the snare drum row. Let's see if this works. That's it right there. Anyway, I bought that set to replace my first Gretsch drum set that I stupidly sold when I was a kid. And I just started buying more vintage bits and pieces. And then but I really didn't, when I left Zildjian and started really playing again, I was bitten by the bug, Rudy. It was crazy. I couldn't get enough. I just kept seeing these vintage drum sets that I wanted. And it became kind of an obsession between drum sets and snare drums and hardware. I love vintage drum hardware. I love buying like that old Wahlberg and Auger, the Buck Rogers snare stands I've got on a bunch of my kits. Those are like 1960s, maybe 70s, probably more likely 60s, like snare stands. All the hi-hat stands, these Gretsch monster hi-hats are like late 60s, I think. They, maybe early 70s. I kind of went crazy on all that stuff too. I just love the looks of it. It's a little heavy and it's a little bulky compared to some of the, the light duty hardware that people make now, but it's still lighter than a lot of the heavy duty hardware. I would never use any of that stuff, the double braced hardware and all that stuff. But thank you, Wonder Drummer. I'm glad you're seeing and hearing it okay. Thanks for joining. So yeah, Rudy, and you know this because you collect vintage drums, it really is, it's like once you take a bite from the apple, you know what I mean? You can't stop. You you just kind of you just become more obsessed with it, and you just want to have more of it. And I just will come down here to my little drum cave, and if I'm not playing, I'll just sometimes just sit and tinker with stuff and look at all this stuff, and just dig having all these beautiful drums to kind of inspire me. Okay, what is Steve Gadd's right foot bass drum beater? Regular or hard felt? Oh, regular hard felt. I would say yes, regular hard felt. That's my guess. I haven't seen Steve's bass drum pedal in a while, but I don't think it was anything. I think it was a standard Yamaha beater that whatever they use for a regular hard felt beater, I think is what Steve uses. I don't have my phone with me. Otherwise, I'd call and ask him. And maybe we'll do that sometime. We'll call Steve, put him on the speaker, get him to tell a joke. That could be fun. And that would be like a YouTube exclusive. I won't do that on Facebook, only on YouTube. Get these guys on the phone and, or like a FaceTime call, put it up here to the camera and have Steve tell a joke. That could be fun. Always thinking. I'm always thinking. What would you guys pay for something like that? That's the big question. Yeah, see, that's what happens. Rudy. You do. It becomes like I'll go on to Reverb and eBay for, maybe not hours, but if I'm having my breakfast, I'll just get on there and start looking for stuff, and or Facebook Marketplace or some of the groups, in Facebook. I try to stay off some of the other stuff on Facebook, and I don't want to offend anybody, but the Facebook drummer page, Facebook drummers, it's such an odd place for me. I don't know I don't know. Some strange folks there anyway. Sonny Emery would be great. Hans, you like that idea of me calling Steve and getting him to tell a joke? Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to, if you guys all promise to watch when I do that, I'll do it. And maybe I'll do that next week sometime. I'll do another one of these exclusive YouTube chats, and we'll get Steve on there. Tell a joke, tell a story. He's pretty good like that. He's got some funny stories. Sonny Emery would be great. I was thinking about Sonny recently. I don't know what made me think of him, but I saw something or heard something with Sonny, and anyway, he's an old friend as well. So yeah, there's definitely no shortage of old friends to do these shows with, and I just would want to be sure that they'd be interesting guests for people to watch, and I would think they would be. I mean, if you guys are watching me, then that then obviously you're not looking for, the bar is pretty low, I guess you could say. So getting somebody like Sonny would raise that bar considerably. So that's good. Yeah. And there's a lot of great drummers, people that I think would be great, but I don't know, how many people would tune in, because I don't know, I guess I'm saying people that aren't household name type drummers, but you guys, I think, know who all these great drummers are, and that's a good thing. You're more of a ask. Okay. Yeah, it's a good idea. I should just ask. But I think you know where I'm going with that. It's, people will ask, can you get Ringo? Can you get Charlie? Can you get this person or that person? And, they're not the easy guys to get. But Zach Alford would be great. Absolutely. Zach was one of the first guys I signed up working at Zildjian when he was, coming up in New York. And yeah, great drummer, boy. And he's had an amazing career, has an amazing career. So actually getting Steve Jordan, Charlie Drayton, and Zach Alford on the same show would be really cool, because they're all, I mean, Charlie and Zach are disciples of Steve, but they all have that zip in their playing. It's just so great. I love the way those guys play. Was I involved in any of the color ad campaigns when I worked at Dynacord? Yeah, to some degree. When I worked for Drum Workshop, we had Dynacord, and that was I worked there from 86 to 89. And we took on Dynacord not long after I started there. So I was there when DW started with Dynacord. And we had a guy named David Levine do the advertising in the US. And David used to work for Simmons, actually. He was the advertising person. I knew him from when I worked at Simmons. He was the marketing guy there. And then he went off on his own and started his own independent company, marketing company. So, I mean, I was involved from the standpoint of helping, get artists to do the ads. But I can't say that I was not, compared to Zildjian, for example, I was not nearly as intimate in the advertising for Dynacord as I was with Zildjian, for example. But okay, love the Rick Marotta, Jeff Porcaro ads. Yep, I do remember those, and I'll just tell you that Jeff. I've told this story before. I'd met Jeff before I worked for DW, but my main dealings with him were while I was at DW, because he played the pedals and he endorsed the DW pedal, and he endorsed Dynacord. And I say this with all love and respect to Jeff, rest his soul. He sort of begrudgingly endorsed Dynacord because he really didn't like electronics. And I just love that about him. I think the entire band, Toto, had an endorsement with Dynacord. And I think it must have been when they were in Europe at some point, someone from Dynacord in Germany must have approached the band, and probably like Steve Porcaro and David Page, maybe, I don't know. Dynacord made some really cool, they made a great Leslie simulator. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but they made this great little like rack mountable Leslie simulator that we sold tons of, and it was inexpensive, and places like West LA Music and Nadine's and all these high-end audio shops around LA and all over the country, like Manny's, Sam Ash, sold tons of these units. The Leslie, I forget what it was called, but it had some number reference to it. So anyway, I suspect maybe they got to Jeff through that connection. And because I remember talking to Jeff on the phone once about sending him something that Germany had contacted me and said, we want to send Jeff Porcaro our new whatever. And Jeff was kind of like, as nicely as he could, trying to not take it. Well, man, I'm cool, man. I think I got what I need right now, or something. No, this is the newest, greatest, whatever. Yeah, man, it's cool, man. And I think in the end, we sent it along to probably to the drum doctor, or might have been Paul Jameson. I don't know, whoever was handling his drums at that time, I think. But another time, I remember talking to Jeff about Toto was going to be in Europe, and Dynacord wanted to honor the band, or wanted to honor him with some sort of lifetime achievement award, or some sort of an award where they had selected him, and he was very genuinely humble, and saying, no, man, I don't deserve it. They should give it to somebody else. They should give it to Rick Marotta, or they should give it to, trying to think of the other guys that we had endorsing Dynacord at that time, Danny Gottlieb or Chad Wackerman or somebody else like that. He was saying, those guys are way better than me. They should have it, not me. But I think in the end, he did accept it. But yeah, Jeff, just amazing human and drummer, obviously. Yeah. Invite those celebrity drummers like Ringo or Charlie to do a live session with you, and who knows, they might say yes. They might. Charlie, I'm much closer with Charlie than Ringo, but Charlie doesn't own a computer, or an iPhone. So that's the first problem. and he, you know, I don't know how he'd react to that if I asked him, but all right. Well, guys, as we come up to the 1 hour mark now, where there it is, 1 hour, I'm gonna let you guys all get back to your lives. And I'm gonna drink some water and turn on the printer for my wife. Shuts off by itself. But this turned out way better than I thought it would. I seriously thought it would be a 5-minute test, and maybe I'd have a couple of people on, you know, watching. So you guys made my afternoon. Thank you. I appreciate it. Sterling Campbell, another great suggestion. Great idea. I'll write him down as well. Okay, I'm going to end this. I'm going to say thanks for watching. Don't forget this Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. in London, Simon Phillips. That will be streamed onto Facebook, the usual way. Hey, Kevin Goodman. So yeah, tune in for that Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, Simon Phillips. By Wonder Drummer. Hey, Wonder Drummer, you're not Stevie Wonder, are you? You got me wondering. All right. Kevin, I'm just signing off, but I'll see you on Saturday, I hope, with Simon Phillips. That's going to be a blast. Simon is going to have, I'm sure, many funny, great stories. The two of us go back a long time. We'll no doubt be laughing it up, yucking it up. You worked for him. Okay. Oh, is it Los? Is that who Wonder Drummer is? I never thought about that. Okay. All right, cool. It's Los. Okay, of course. Now I know. Wonder Drummer. There I was thinking you might be Jerry Brown. But Los, that's just as good. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. This has been so much fun. Broke up the afternoon. Gonna take a nice nap now. Yeah, bring some friends, Kevin. Bring all your friends on Saturday for Simon. That's you know, I think I don't know if it'll be at the level of Greg Bissonette in terms of how much laughing we'll do. Because with Greg, I rewatched the last one we did the other day, and you know, we laughed more than anything else. And watching it made me laugh. So anyway, thanks you guys. Everybody stay safe. Really appreciate this. You can watch this on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. Live from my drum room. Just search my name and Live from my drum room and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. All right. See you Saturday. Over and out.